Hello, I am Cynthia Ajani,
And I'm Khea Pollard.
and we are
Cafe X, by any means necessary.
Welcome. Wow, that video was really cool. I was just so touched. So we're just asked to do some follow-up to this video. And so I had a few questions that I thought might be great for us to answer and expound on our work at Cafe X. So one of the things when I think about guaranteed income, it's like, what is it?
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be another buzzword right now in our environment. So could you kind of explain to us what is guaranteed income? How does it work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, guaranteed income and really universal basic income, it is a buzzword, but it's a buzzword with a lot of material impact. And it's actually part of a broader movement for equality, basic equality. And it starts with equity and looking at communities that have been marginalized when we talk about guaranteed income. And this pilot in particular, the Black Women's Resilience Project, we're talking about leveling the playing field. And what these guaranteed income pilots do is provide that unrestricted cash to families, to individuals. There are different populations that are focus populations for all of the different kinds of pilots throughout the country. You have many throughout California. You've got some in Louisiana, you've got Mississippi, you've got New Mexico. And all of them are focused on providing this cash and really seeing what families do with it. And a lot of the outcomes have to do with people investing in themselves in a multitude of ways and examining the impact on their health, their family, their education, their savings, the ability to save, and plan for the future. So it's about, again, leveling the playing field and making sure that the folks who have historically not had the opportunity are provided that opportunity through cash.
Okay, well, that's cool. So next question would be for me.
Yes,
You say all that, it's
Yeah.
like, is anyone really investing that's in San Diego and Imperial counties in this kind of developing this guaranteed income project? And then, the difference, I know, noted difference in the design that we've proposed as Cafe X in the community is having those wraparound services that we talked about. So we can go into that a little bit. But who is investing in it? Who are we looking at to be investors? When we talk about our all-in project, who's all in?
Yeah, who is all in? Yes. There are, and I think there are many different ways to kind of look at that and what contribution looks like, because sometimes it's not money. Sometimes It's thought partnership, sometimes it's space, sometimes it's simply elevating your voice and your mission and getting behind it and backing it. And so my role as director for San Diego for Every Child has been great because I came on to coordinate both pilots, as I mentioned in the video, and make sure that there is a nexus between the work of two organizations who are in community with each other. So we have funders on this side of the pilot, right? For San Diego for Every Child, Alliance Healthcare Foundation. The state has provided a large sum of money in appropriation for it. And Jewish Family Service is a core partner providing that other funding on the back end for this pilot. And not only are they doing that, but because San Diego for Every Child is connected closely in partnership with Jewish Family Service, we're leveraging their infrastructure for this project. And we came together, it's been a year now, it's been 9 months.
We've been talking about it.
It's been a long time in development and just figuring out what is appropriate, because our pilot started with community, it started with focus groups and having the conversations. How do we bridge the gap between those larger organizations who do have the resources and the infrastructure and the connectivity to do so with smaller grassroots kind of emerging projects?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to jump over that one question because that was mine, but that's okay. People, and we say people, generally, when you think about business, sometimes they say you can't mix family and business into, you know, your work environment. That causes problems. But we're family, and we've created a co-op, and where everybody's in the business, even your dad is, you know, he jumps in wherever he can, which is great. So how do you think that works? What do you think the benefits of having that happen have been?
Of having family.
That's right.
Having family around, it's been wonderful, I think, largely. I'm not just saying that because you're here.
Of course not.
It has, because with family, and family that's really connected in a positive way, you have people who will have your back, that you trust, and they trust you. And there is just this level of comfort and safety that comes with that sort of a connection. And those are the kinds of things that are hard to build in community, because I think a lot of the times we have trouble establishing that baseline of connection and trust, especially when, you know, it's new organizations just meeting for the first time, or there are people with different work styles, like, you know, I have a different work style than you, and vice versa. But with family, there's just a common denominator. We're in this. Yeah. You can't get rid of.
And we can have different work styles and still be okay.
Right. And it, you know, and we can work through that. And at the end of the day, we're together.
Yeah. So I totally agree. I think I'll just share one of the gains that I've had from being able to work with family. I think about the intergenerational connection. You know, your millennial, X, and so forth. I think it's important to not only have those generations working together. It's important. You know, we have this vast experience. We're old, half a century, and then you all have all this energy still, you know. Yeah. Try to match it. I can't always pony up, but it's okay. We all have our strengths, but I think that's an important part for not only us to work together, but for the community to see also, and people to observe that, you know, hey, that can be done. That can be done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I can jump in?
You can do whatever you
and
want,
ask you a question.
Yes.
Because you're talking about the intergenerational piece, and it makes me think about many of the conversations that we have about community and the Black community specifically, and what it's looked like and transitioned to and transformed into over the years. And so I'm curious, what has been your experience of Black community and how it's grown, and what changes have happened over your lifetime that, you know, have implications today and into the future?
Yeah, well, there's a whole lot of that. As you know, both your grandparents, my father and mother, both grew up in San Diego. And so I had great aunts, grandmothers that were all in San Diego. Even they were here when the Coronado Bridge was built back in the 1930s or so. And Market Street, Imperial Avenue used to be aligned with Black businesses. There used to be a plethora of them, leaders in the community. And over the decades, and even we talk about 30 years back, a lot of those businesses were already gone 30 years ago. In the late 80s and early 90s, when you had the war on drugs and the whole drug thing come into San Diego and other cities around the country, there was a mass exodus. And people in my generation, some of them sold their houses and they moved to places like Riverside County, Temecula, Menifee, Las Vegas, Texas, and other places. And you'll see a lot of them migrated there because, one, it got really expensive to live here, and then you had that element that came in the community, kind of broke things down, where you had generations of us whose mothers and grandmothers owned the homes. You got to that generation in that era, they literally end up selling and moving out or doing something different. So it kind of, I think it was a turnkey era for San Diego County and Black people and Black business. That's been my experience.
Yeah. And that's, I think, one of the things that we do at Cafe X, or try to do, and is our mission and our vision to do, is build that generational wealth and rebuild it. I'm curious, from your point of view, how we do that. And I'm wanting to know, really, how you think guaranteed income as part of the Black Women's Resilience Project ties into that overall vision and building up the Black community.
Okay, that is a very good question, because the Black Women's Resilience Project is more than just guaranteed income. Mm-hmm. As you know, we've designed it so that you have a series of wraparound services with community members that are entrepreneurs, business owners, or just want to be involved and be all in to really bringing up the efficacy, the power, self-actualization of Black women in a very specific way. So these wraparound services include things like financial literacy, entrepreneurship, if you just want to, job training and how to get a job. Those are the simple things. The finance is a big one. Mental health services, along with health and fitness, learning how to really take care of yourselves. You're not really much good to do any of this if you're not in good physical health. So it's what sets it apart from any of the other income pilot programs that I've seen. We've taken a holistic view of it. And I think all of that together and having that, what I call ultimately a spiritual component to it, and really caring about uplifting souls and making things better for people, is going to make a difference in building, because it really gives them the blueprint as to the how. Not just saying, here it is, and we'll send you somewhere to know. We're going to learn together, grow together, and advance together. So.
Ooh, you said so many good things. I'll try to keep track. Yeah, and I would just say to that, the guaranteed income piece of that is about establishing that baseline. I think I said baseline.
Yeah, it's a base.
Baseline, because beyond surviving, what else is possible?
Yeah.
And opening up those and creating, actually establishing those networks of support that are really relevant to that individual. And not only is talking about some of those technical skills because they're needed, but how do you feel? How does it feel to be in your body? And how do you make meaning of your life as a Black woman in America, in San Diego? And where do we go from here? How do we build on that so that you have the fullest life possible? I think that's what we all want.
Yeah. You get that stressor off of you about how am I going to pay the rent next month, and how am I going to buy food? A lot more is possible, right? That's a real clencher. Yeah. So if we can overcome that first barrier and then have them deal with people that not have their same experience, that look like them, because a lot of time, social services are great, but they haven't worked effectively, and it feels like a lot of times someone coming down from somewhere out of nowhere, and everything is so personal, and they don't really understand your life experience. So it brings another element, another way to really touch and connect with people. Yeah.
And something else you said, I know I'll let you ask a question, but the blueprint, because it reminds me of something that we've discussed with one of our partners, San Diego for Every Child, and Jewish Family Service, about developing that blueprint as we work together, and what it looks like to have a blueprint that is at the foundation meant to create reciprocity between organizations that do have the influence and maybe the resources and the people to get things done, right? And what does it look like to work with smaller organizations in different sectors, and elevate those ideas and support it in a healthy way? Not take it over, remaster it, and then do it the way, redesign it, re-engineer a community idea. And I think that's what's really special about the partnership that we have, because we're actively working through those issues and talking about them. openly.
I think it's unprecedented, is what I
Yes,
think.
definitely.
Yeah. So when we look at philanthropy, and that's another thing, changing the narrative and how we actually discuss the how. I think one of the terms that we like to use is giving assistance. I like to use the word investment. Let's make this investment in our community, because it gives everyone involved a feeling that they're a part of this, rather than, I can give to, what is that little animal group, ASPCA or whatever they are. I can give to them all day. But if
ASPCA.
Yes, that group. Yeah, I love animals. But you can give to something, to a cause from afar, and really kind of feel heartfelt and feel, well, that's all I can do. And you're thinking about, I'm just giving. I think there's a different feel when you say, I'm investing in this.
Yeah.
And I'm taking an active part in making sure that it's a sustainable program, et cetera. So even in the grants that are probably going to come down the pike, I want to use that verbiage.
Yeah.
And
I think that whole spectrum is needed, right? I think right now we're heavily, and I think we're moving out of it, but that transactional culture of, I have this money to give, this is how I want to give it, and here you go. And I'm going to watch you, right? I'm going to pull the strings behind the scenes to one that's more participatory, collaborative, and really deeply engaged with the people who are at the end, of that, and at the end of the service or the program or the project. Moving more towards that. I think we can still have some transactions, right? It's never all, don't put your eggs in one basket kind of thing. You want to diversify the types of support, but I think there's not enough participatory support, like what you're speaking of.
Right, participatory. Yeah, absolutely. So I can say that I think the future is bright. So is there anything else on this little sheet that you'd like to add?
I think the last thing I want to touch on with you is how this work is different, because I think we got pieces of it, right? And we talked about the different modes of giving, and what people need to know too, about the work and the collaboration that we're a part of. What makes it different? What can funders take away? What can community members take away? People from all sectors take away about their contribution to what we're doing, and what's needed in the future. Okay. We can both think about that and speak to that.
Yeah, it's wide, it's broad, but it can also be short. The short answer is take away that we are in it for the long term. This is something that we intend to be sustainable. Our intention is to uplift people in the community and bridge the gap between our organizations, nonprofit, for-profit, philanthropists, community, et cetera, and have them really understand who we are as humans, not just numbers for people who need help. And everyone doesn't fit that mold even in the work. When you think about guaranteed income, and when you say assistance, which I want to say investment, you think about people who are absolute destitute. No, we have people with doctor's degrees that still need help, So the takeaway is that we are all in. We are all in, and it's more about community development and the generational wealth building. I think it's our whole purpose in being.
Right. Yeah, and just I think we've hit time, but to add to that, there's a lot of big picture problems. I saw a statistic that said 40% of Americans can't afford a $400 emergency. We have almost 40% of children living in poverty in this county. And those things are easy to say, difficult to change, but it's possible.
Absolutely.
It's possible. And I think this all-in approach not only has to do with personally being all in, but being able to kind of break down that big picture to a really individual level and talk about it to people we may not have talked about it to before. We have to talk to our lending institutions. We have to talk to government. We have to talk to each other.
Yes.
So I think this is one step.
One step.
Self-determination is the first step. Give people what they need and support them in getting it.
Yes.
And stay in communication and collaboration. So,
yes, well said. X. All right.